I feel it's unfortunate that people in Canada don't get my radio show. I don't understand exactly why. I think the show should be on in Canada. It's offered for syndication. I don't think the Canadian government should tell people what they can listen to. I think that's wrong. I think Canadians are smart enough to decide what they should hear. They're big people, you know what I mean? They're adults.
Now, you've been married for several years to your wife, Allison.
A lot of years.
Yeah, and apparently it's a challenge to stay faithful to her.
It is.
Well, that still a challenge?
Well, that's why I try to show my life story. That when I was coming out of college, I was no ladies' man. And here's this wonderful woman who traveled the country with me. And people have said to me for years, what kind of woman would marry Howard Stern? Because if people know anything about me, my act is pretty wild on the radio. I mean, what I'm doing is nuts. And, you know, I go on the air and talk about my wife's miscarriage. I have strippers running around the studio and stuff. And people say, well, how could she be married to him? And in the film, I try to answer that question because my wife and I also have a pretty good relationship. I think people have left the theater going, you know, it's a pretty good love story. I understand now why this woman would take up with him. So if it answers that question, that's great. And we have found that people have left the theater going, not only did I find the film hilarious, but it's a pretty good love story. And it inspires me to follow my dream. So that's great. If people are having that reaction to the film, I'm thrilled. The kind of radio I'm doing is revolutionary. I've changed the industry, I know that. And it's the story of a guy who changed the industry against all odds. Because when I go to work for people, you see management really tries to beat me down. This is a real good broadcast story. It's a good story about a guy succeeding against all odds.
Are you ever embarrassed by anything?
No, I'm really not, and that's a major character flaw. I know that. I'm not embarrassed by stuff. I mean, there are times that actually I'm sitting on the air. I think the strength of what I do is that I sort of open up my head to the audience, and I say whatever's on my mind. And I think that's kind of brave in a sense, even though I'm a coward. But I think that's the bravest thing I do. And I am never really embarrassed. There are times I kind of go, maybe I shouldn't say this. Maybe I've got some sort of image or ego, and I go, wait, get rid of that. Just say it. Don't think about your ego. Don't think about your image.